Jay Hiff, Stretford Paddock, and this is Stretford Paddock Transfers Live. Why are you laughing at me?
Because it's transfer season, Jay. The moment we've all been waiting for. Yes, you can watch United win games. Yes, we can win trophies. But what we really want is signings,
We
Jay.
just want signings, man. Forget all the football, the distraction of actually watching 22 men kick a bit of leather over a
old-fashioned, if you ask me.
All right,
transfers these days.
Yeah, we want transfers, mate. That's all I get up in the morning for. None of this nonsense about football. Unfortunately, we've got some transfer stories for you, including United making a signing or completing a signing. So we're going to be talking about Amad Diallo. We're going to be talking about Moises Caicedo because we've been linked with him. And you might be pouring a bit of cold water on that from what you were telling me earlier, because there's contradictory information coming out regarding the youngster, so we'll get into that. We'll also look at the exodus, the mass exodus, which is, you know, right up your street, innit, Exodus? Biblical.
Get out. Get out.
Sorry.
Favourite Testament?
No, obviously.
Good lad. My one. The big one.
Exactly.
Go on.
And also, we'll be looking at Klopp and Jose having a meltdown. We're causing meltdowns, Joe.
It's good, isn't it?
We're good again.
We're back in the... yeah, exactly. You go
People
through Twitter,
care about
and
us.
all of a sudden, it's awful to be a United fan on Twitter because everyone hates us again. And you know what? I love it.
I know.
I absolutely love it.
Do you know my darkest days, right, as a United fan? Was when Moyes was manager. And like...
David Moyes.
David Moyes, yes.
Famous.
See, knowledge. And people almost felt a bit sorry for us. Like, rival managers would be like, he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be patient with him. It's like, mate, we're just like a dog that's almost been run over, and you're like, oh, do you know what I mean? It's just like, put him out of his misery. Now people actually hate us again, and they're just losing their minds over things that have got nothing to do with us.
I forgot what it was like. I forgot what it was like when other managers irrationally criticised Man United. It's fantastic. We're going to be looking into all of that.
Yeah, you can tell us about the game with Southampton.
And
United's penalties.
Yeah, what about these penalties? What?
What?
We didn't ask you about that. Yeah, that's how you know we're back. That's how you know we're back, Jay. We've got all that coming up. We've also we've got a little update on the Cavani situation, as pretty much every South American football association is coming out in defence of Edinson Cavani. We'll be going over that a little bit, looking a little bit into the details behind that. What this sort of says for FA protocols going forward, and whether, you know, some things have been maybe framed slightly incorrectly in the way that this has been handled. But again, we'll be getting.
Wouldn't it be nice if we actually learned something and moved forward in a way?
We'll also be giving updates on Tottenham versus Brentford, which is going on behind the camera. I mean, we're not.
Why is that so relevant, Joe?
Well, that's so relevant because the winner of this game will play the winner of Manchester United against Manchester City in the final of the Carabao
So the winner of this
Cup.
game will play Man United?
Yeah, sorry. The winner of this game will play Man United in the final when we beat Man City tomorrow night. So obviously it's relevant to United. Tottenham currently 1-0 up there. We'll be keeping you up to date with all of that. Should we get into some stories, Jay?
We should, and also like the video, please, people. Getting the words out. There's lots of you watching it. Not many likes, although we have got a super chat straight in.
Go on.
Horizon Marie says, Klopp is a shambles.
Yep.
We're well and truly back.
Yep.
Agree with everything you've just written there.
Yeah.
Fantastic super chat. Let's get into it. We're starting off with Diallo.
Yes.
So he's the new signing who's sorting out his work permit. He flew to Rome. Best place to sort out work permits.
If I was going to, where would I be? Rome.
Do you know what I mean?
Everyone knows that. When you think of work permits, I can barely think of Rome without thinking of work permits.
I'm not going to go.
Most people think Colosseum, pizza, you know.
Work permits.
Work permits.
That's the next one. Cornettos.
Yeah, exactly.
Work permits.
Gelato.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Work permit capital.
I'm not going to go to Warrington to get my work permit.
No.
I'm going to go to Rome.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's done that because he's a clever lad.
Yep.
And it looks like that's going to be happening very soon. He's expected in Manchester. He might have even landed by the time you're watching this.
Brentford, I believe, have scored.
Brentford have scored. This is not a drill.
Brentford have scored against Tottenham. They have equalised. Now, that's pretty huge for Man United, as we've sort of already established. There we go. Whoever wins that game plays Man United in the final because we're going to beat City tomorrow. So Brentford have scored. They're sort of checking it back, but there's no VAR, and the ref's giving it, so who cares whether it's offside or not?
No VAR. Hey,
forget about VAR.
Turn up for the Bucks.
So, 1-1 in that game. We'll keep you up to date with that.
Do you want some good news?
Go
on. Peter Kelly in the Super Chat has given us a great bit of news. He says, we will win the league at Ellen Road, and then the Scousers have to give us a guard of honour in the next game. I love the fact that not only is he 21, it's done for him, he's even taking it to the level of
wait, there is VAR.
Joe's telling lies here.
Sorry. There was not VAR in the first few rounds of the Carabao Cup. That's a fact.
Listen, right? United are in it. They thought, we better bring VAR in. because we've got to give him loads of penalties.
Yeah.
Which is what we want.
He's onside, by the way. Unless you
call
it his hands
that's quite a dramatic picture.
Sorry about that. We're distracted by another
Peter Kelly, if you're right, if we win the league at Ellen Road and the Scouts have to give us a guard of honour, you will not see me on this channel again.
That's about 5 games before the end of the season.
I'll run out screaming and never come back. Never stop running screaming. That'll be amazing. But I'll take any title win, regardless of whether we win it at Ellen Road and the Scouts have to give us a guard of honour or not. Yeah, Amad Diallo. Joe, you're a big fan, aren't you?
I'm a big fan, and I think that's been ruled offside. We'll give you the update on that. Yeah, I'm a fan of him. I'm a fan of the fact that we've bought a right winger. I'm a fan of the fact that it only took us 5 months to get his work permit sorted, as the goal is ruled out at Brentford there for offside. And I didn't realise VAR was in the Carabao Cup. Obviously it is. Yeah, I think it's good that we signed him. It's a lot of money. Let's be honest. It's I think it's 20 million euros rising up to a potential 40 million euros. Yeah. Now that's a hell of a lot of cash for someone who's played as few games as he has. He's one of those people who I think when you hear scouts or you read interviews with people who are seemingly more in the know on this sort of aged player around Europe, he seems to be one of those where they go, he really could be something very special. Not just he looks pretty good. Not to, unfortunately, I'm using the example of Dan James here, but I think Dan James was seen as someone who is quite good, who could improve. Yeah. I think Diallo is seen as someone who's very raw, but could be genuinely world class going forward. So obviously there's a lot that could change between now and then, and those things don't always turn out that way. But yeah, it's good that we're signing him. And again, they see Fabrizio Romano. Diallo is set to join United in January and not in June, despite Atalanta trying to keep him on loan until the end of the season. There were some rumours about that, but I think they were swiftly quashed.
That pleases me on 2 fronts. One, the fact that Atalanta want to keep him. Obviously, I know he's not played a lot of football for them, but they see him in training every day. They know what he can do. The fact they wanted to keep him is a good sign, because if they were like, God, take him off us, you'd be a bit worried. Yeah. And secondly, the fact that Ollie's saying no is a good sign, because it shows that Ollie's got plans for him. Yeah. So, we've got a player that, okay, I don't expect him to start every game or anything like that, but hopefully he'll get used and we can see some of that raw talent, and it could be a sort of a bit of a wild card, if you will, someone to bring off the bench. Not a lot of people know about this kid. He's probably going to have that energy that you've got as a young kid, energy as you like to say, and getting at defenders, causing havoc, and just sort of, I was going to say giving the crowd a lift, but there's no crowds there as well.
Speaking of energy, energy
in
there
the
is
AM.
No paddock piss take probably this week.
Premier League piss take. Get the name of your show right.
Adam McCullough was having to sort of stay away for a little minute, but
you had a tiff, you two.
Me and him are falling out. But yeah, unfortunately, there hasn't been one this week, and hopefully we'll be able to get one out later in the week, but potentially not. So that's there's no. It will be back next week.
Can we clear up some things about this right now?
Go on,
because I've got some questions for you about this. Tell the truth. Right. Don't lie to me, Joe. Yeah. Is it because Arsenal won?
It's not because Arsenal won, because United won and Chelsea lost. We've got the thing with the laser of hate that we use on Premier League piss take is it's on a real, very well-oiled turner. So we can go Arsenal,
Chelsea,
and then we go just turn it slightly down the other end of London, Chelsea.
Chelsea.
So we can just turn it straight to Chelsea.
Because you had a good run, didn't you, with Arsenal?
Yeah, but there's always going to be some rival team that's struggling. It's that kind of.
To be fair, you can have a go to Scousers.
Liverpool. Do you not
their
think we
recent form.
Scousers?
Yeah, so good because like the little teasers you are, you've got everyone aroused, and then you've got an headache.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
But yeah, we will be back with Premier League piss take as soon as we possibly can. Don't worry about that.
You'll be back with Premier League piss take. Get the words out, and Amad Diallo will be joining the Manchester United squad very soon. So he's someone to look forward to seeing in a red shirt. Hopefully soon rather than later, and we can see what all the fuss is about. Because, like Joe said, quite a hefty fee, but I think there's a lot of sort of incentives and add-ons and all that sort of jazz. We saw it. I always go back to the Anthony Martial fee as an example, where we always sing 50 million down the drain. Tony Martial scores again. It wasn't 50 million, but it's with add-ons and incentives, and if he wins the Ballon d'Or and all this stuff.
Or something.
Yeah, there was lots of things put in there, and I think it's the same with this kid, but he's obviously a huge talent. From one player that is at United to another one that I thought was going to be, but then you sort of poured dandelion and burdock on my chips, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. That's your fault, though, for having such an open can of drink near me. You know I like to pour things.
He does.
Like a cat knocking glasses off the edge of a table like that. Go on.
Moises Caicedo, who's the young lad from Independiente del Valle. He's been linked with United. At one point, this looked like it was on the verge of being a here we go from Romano. But then there's been a bit of a twist in the tail, hasn't there?
There's been a little bit of a twist, yeah. One of their sort of chief execs at Independientes, I believe it's called, sort of said, we don't think he'll be here next season, but we're not sure he's going to Man United. We've had no contact with Manchester United. There's even been mentions of fees being mentioned, but we haven't spoken to Manchester United, which could all very well be a bargaining technique. It could all very well be him going, I don't know, let's not get your ideas too far ahead here. We haven't agreed anything yet. Come back to us when you've got a fee. There may well be the case again. People like to talk and say, no deal has been agreed or there's been no official contact made for the player. When really, you spoke to the player's agent. He's happy with this wage. You spoke to representatives of the club. They're happy with this fee. And, put it all together. The deal is 90% done, but officially, no official bid has been made or no official contact has been made. So we may be in one of those situations where everything's put together, but the deal isn't actually done, as Tottenham go 2-0 up there against Brentford, and we can pretty much say that one's probably going to be done now. But yeah, this is Fabrizio Romano's update. He said that talks are on with both clubs and the agent. Work permit is an issue, nothing signed or done. So slightly contradictory to what the boss, one of the bosses there at Independientes has said. But again, I still think there was room for manoeuvre within that quote about, we haven't spoken to, because spoken to is anywhere from, have you texted him or have you sat down with 2 pieces of paper that need signing? And if it's not the latter, then sometimes people just deny anything's been said at all, don't they? Same with Dortmund and Sancho.
We saw it with Dortmund and Sancho when it was Watzke and Zorc and all them lot were making statements, and 1 minute it was like, we've not spoke to them, then it was, United haven't met our valuation, or talks are ongoing, or talks are broken down, or whatever was going on, or representatives have talking to his representatives but not the club. I mean, there's a million different ways this can go down. The player might have been spoken to, his agent might have been spoken to, the club may have been spoken to, this guy may have it wrong, or he may be playing doing a bit of a bluff, or he may be telling the truth and nothing may have happened. But this is a rumour that has been going on for a little while now, and it does kind of make sense. We're talking about the likes of Amad Diallo, likes of Facundo Palestre, United, even Dan James can maybe throw into that category of these youngsters United have started looking at and buying a sort of, not a complete change in tactic, but mixing it up a bit.
Yeah.
So we're not just going out for the established internationals, I know Moises Caicedo is international, but you know what I mean, the experienced players, or the ones that are 30, 40, 50 million, whatever. We're also bringing in some of the youngsters, like we used to do under Fergie. We used to mix it up a bit. And I always hark back to the sort of 2003 summer where we bought the likes of Kleberson, Bellion, Liam Miller, and that other kid, Cristiano.
And they all turned out, but that's the thing. Yeah. If one of them turns out like Ronaldo, or one of them turns out not even like Ronaldo, just as a player who can play 35 games a season for you, then it's been worth it.
Ji-sung Park, someone mentioned the other day, who was a little bit older, but, what was he, 4.5 million at the time when that was still pennies? And he did all right, didn't he? Yeah. Champions League, about 5 titles. You can't really grumble at that. Thanks a lot as well, guys, for joining the membership. I think we've got a couple of new members, Mr. Adiz. Also, Peter Kelly's back in the Super Chat. He's loving it on Super Chat, is he, Peter Kelly? And we appreciate your support. He's saying, do you think Palestre will play against Watford, Joseph?
Personally, no, I don't. I think it would be too big of a jump to go from not ever really being in and amongst the first team to starting games. Or I know he says play there rather than start, but yeah, personally, I don't think he will do.
No,
it'd be nice to see him.
I think I'm gonna sort of the fact that he said play, I'm gonna say he'll be in the squad, and if we're 2 goals up or whatever with 5 minutes to go, he'll get a cameo. If we're chasing the game, I don't think he will. Connor Allen with a great question says, Jay, would you rather have a lifetime supply of Pepsi Max Cherry or sign Sancho? Sorry, Jaden. But do you know what? We can always get another right winger. You can't get a different drink. Listen, hopefully we can have both.
There's plenty of drinks, just so you know that. There are even different colas that taste like cherry.
Get out.
Okay, sorry.
Ever speak to me like that again. But we're not. Do you know what? That's the only time. Well, unless someone else brings it up in the chat, we decide to talk about it. We're going to mention the Jason Sanchez word tonight because there's not a lot.
Just to clarify, we are going to be talking about him a bit later.
Right, okay. Yeah. Well, there's not a lot to talk about, but there's a little bit, tiny bit. All right then, let's talk about Jack Grealish then.
Go on then, if you're so hard. Let's talk about Jack Grealish. And we mentioned it on the Devils podcast the other day, the Paddock podcast, should I say. this sort of Rio Ferdinand coming out and urging Jack Grealish to join Manchester United. I think we've collectively, based on what I see in the comments, what I see in the office here about how people talk about Jack Grealish now, there seems to be little to no doubt that Jack Grealish is good enough to play for Manchester United. That doubt has gone away that was there when they first got promoted. I've got friends who support Championship teams who watched a lot of Grealish in the Championship who said when Aston Villa came up through the playoffs, the main or one of the key things to them going up was Jack Grealish coming back from injury. I think it was about 12 games before the end of the season, and they ended up winning 9 and drawing 3, something ridiculous. And they continued that form all the way through, won the playoffs, got promoted. And from that point on, I've had mates saying, I know you think he's a bit flashy, I know you think he's this and that. He's a real, genuine top player that could play for Manchester United. And again, I think, whilst it's taken me a little bit of time to be convinced of that, and I think maybe some other people as well, no one is now saying, nah, he's not good enough. We've seen it enough from him. We've seen it on different levels. We've seen it for England. We've seen it against United. We've seen it, for Villa last season. He kept them up. He consistently is amongst the top chance makers in the league. The question now is, first of all, do United still want him? Because we know with pretty much certainty that he was United's basically number one choice last January. A year ago, he was one of our big options. And Villa basically said, as far as I'm aware, they said, we're not going to sell him now because we think he's our key to staying up. Come back in the summer and we'll talk. Basically, that's when we saw the reports come out saying, if Villa go down, it'll be 30 million. If they stay up, it'll be 60 million, all these things. Obviously, he kept him up. And also, obviously, which is quite nice to see, United went, we ain't waiting till the summer. We're going to get Bruno Fernandes now instead. Now, I wonder whether the ship for Jack Grealish has sailed with that purchase of Bruno Fernandes. Again, you see Rio Ferdinand coming out and talking about this, and some of the quotes we saw the other day on the podcast, we'll see them again now, is it just Rio saying this because he likes him? Does Rio know a bit of something? Is this sort of, behind the scenes a little bit of, trying to push someone in a certain direction here? Because obviously Rio Ferdinand's very well linked to Manchester United. He's a person who's been in and around football for a very long time, who may well have conversations and knowledge of people who, behind the scenes at Aston Villa, for example, Roy Keane, who Rio obviously knows very well, who was the assistant manager at Villa a couple of years ago. So there's no doubt that Rio may know a bit more than the average person. It is just whether his opinion is sort of anything towards this transfer. But again, we've got to the point where there's no doubt he's good enough for Man United. The questions are, do we still want him?
Do we want him?
I don't think there's even a doubt as to whether he'd come on. I think he definitely would. Yeah. The other question is, do we need him? And obviously, we as fans, we see what he does, we see all that sort of thing. But really, and I mentioned this on the podcast, if you check that out if you haven't already seen it, is he filling a gap that isn't necessarily there anymore? Does he do too much of what Bruno does and not enough of what Sancho could do, or not enough of what Leon Bailey or someone that's a bit less of a flashy signing, but actually is more effective and more in line with what we actually need at Manchester United?
Right. I'm going to read this.
Go on.
Brian Kelville.
Super chat.
Super chat. Grealish would be the dream signing. Is it true we are in the hunt for Borussia Mönchengladbach's central defender, Eric Schön? Erection. Very good, Brian.
He's done you there.
He's done me. You have done me.
If that was up to me, I'd have read that and gone, I'm not sure he is. Let me Google that. Hopefully he's got his own website, erection.com. Enter. Fucking hell. I don't know if we're in the hunt, but they're bloody in the hunt, aren't they?
You could have just used my computer and just done recent searches. Because I'm always looking at knobs. Right, and Jack Grealish. Just some stats to throw at you, Joe, because you love stats, don't you? You're one of them.
I'm a
last
stat
season,
magnet, mate.
You are a stat magnet. Last season, he scored 8 goals and got 6 assists in 36 games, even. That joke's just sent me head west.
8 goals in 36 goals.
Yeah. 14 goal involvements. That is in 36 games.
This term goal involvements, Jay.
I've got to join the dark side, haven't I?
It's very much a modern invention, isn't it?
I'm just, you know me, I'm such a Luddite and I'm so caught in the past, but you have to roll with it, don't you?
Join the 21st century, well done.
Thank you. Also, this season, in 15 games, he's got 12 goal involvements. So he's having a more productive season, as are Aston Villa. But he's also created something like 51 chances this season, or something stupid. So he's very much involved, he's very creative. I know where you're coming from. It's like, the big question is, does he? Can you fit him and Bruno in? I think we can. Will we have to wait and see. Let's face facts. If we got Jack Grealish, we'd all be fucking buzzing.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would be going, and why have we bought him? Well, that was a bloody stupid move. So let's wait and see if that happens. Do get involved in the comments, guys. Send us your super chats if you want to make more erection puns. Not a problem. Or you can just send us normal comments. Do hit the like button as well. Keep liking the video.
That's not a motto here at Stretford Paddock, by the way.
That's our new,
it's not like,
our new policy.
Yeah, we'll talk about knobs if it's for cash. That's not what we do here.
Not anymore, anyway.
No, Jay, I'm very proud of you, What is it, 2-3 weeks now? Very well done. Very well done.
Each day at a time. Right, moving swiftly on from talk of Willies. Should we talk about players leaving? Exodus at Manchester United.
Yes.
Because January squad clear out is the graphic there, you can see. Because there's stories doing the rounds, and let's face facts, they're not the most far-fetched stories.
No.
That Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to get rid of a few of his team or his squad during the January transfer window because these players want games. They ain't getting them at United. And there's clubs that'll have him.
Yep.
So the likes of, you can see Sergio Romero there. And we've got a quote here, sorry, I'll just read that out. It says, Brighton are reportedly keen on goalkeeper Romero, while Jones, Phil Jones of course, and Marcus Rojo have attracted interest from Newcastle United. United triggered Lingard's 1-year extension last week, but are ready to move him on. James and Williams could be sent out on loan. So Dan James, Brandon Williams, maybe on loan. We'll get to them in a minute. Marcus Rojo and Jones are attracting interest from Newcastle. And Brighton want Romero. Do you see all?
I see all of those players leaving
in
the next 18 months.
Right.
I don't think any of them will be there, by next summer.
Yes.
Say 18 months, 6 months.
6 months, about.
Yeah, I think by the start of next season, I don't expect any of those players to be there. The only difficulty in some of their cases are wages, who wants them, a historical precedent of United getting both bad fees for players and just generally not being able to shift them no matter what. Yep. Look at for example, Phil Jones already. Look at Marcus Rojo, who was out on loan in Argentina last year. Yeah. Because he's on 100 grand a week, 120 grand a week, something ridiculous.
We do sense a panic issue these contracts, don't we? If someone has a good game, or looks like they might be going, and we just throw him like a 3-year deal on the table. I mean, we did it with Matic, didn't we? I know he's playing well, but didn't we give him a 3-year extension? Yeah, 31 or whatever.
So you just got to make sure that there are people I say make sure. The thing I don't have full faith in is that we're not going to get good money for any of these players. The most, you may get 10 million plus for Jesse Lingard. Other than that, we ain't getting 10 million for any of these. Romero, Jones, Rojo, whoever else.
Yeah, sorry, you said Romero.
We're not going to be getting that money for any of them. But the thing is, just getting them out. And that's the thing. We've extended Jesse Lingard's contract there, which in theory sounds like a good idea because it's an extra year of a contract that another team has to buy out. But what it also is, it's another barrier in the way of someone actually buying Jesse Lingard, which is already seemingly an issue that we're struggling with. Like, I get it, you want a bit more for him, but who is going to pay let's say it would have been 10 million if we'd have not done it, and now we want 15, 16 million. Who's going to pay that? That's my only issue, and it just seems a lot of this seems short-sighted. It's almost as though we gave Phil Jones a 5-year contract extension because we thought we could sell him for more. But everyone went, he costs more than he's worth now. Yeah. So we just ain't going to buy him. No. So now you've got a player who's probably unhappy, who for the last 4 or 5 years of his career, in Phil Jones specifically, has gone from being a promising, highly touted centre-back to being basically a laughingstock, which I genuinely feel very sorry for him for.
I
don't think he deserves.
I felt sorry for him with the testimonial thing where he said, I want a testimonial because no one will come.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just really sad. He's been at the club for 10 years.
Let's not forget as well, was it Twitter or someone said name a player better than Phil Jones, we'll wait, throwing him under the bus. Regardless of what you think of Phil Jones, right, he's not the greatest player in the world, we all know that, but he's won as many European trophies as Manchester City have in their existence. He's got more caps than the likes of Jermaine Jenas and Chris Sutton put together. Yeah. He's won as many trophies as the Scousers have in recent years. Yeah. Right, he's not won the same trophies.
The same amount of Premier Leagues.
Yeah, exactly the same amount of Premier Leagues as the Scousers. Yeah. So yes, Phil Jones is a flawed footballer and he has had issue problems and he isn't at the levels we want him to be. But this all sort of hammering him and sticking the knife in with him, I think it's a bit OTT at times. Aaron Quinn, two super chats. Double H says, big up Jay, Blad and Joe. Thanks for that. Aaron Quinn in a super chat says, did you see Ollie's press conference when he forgot about Phil Jones altogether before quickly catching himself? Poor lad. Laughing emoji. Yeah, a couple of those players, someone in the chat, in the comments is saying Brentford have had a red card.
Yeah.
Is that Mike Dean?
It is.
Whipping out that red card. Yeah. Always doing that. He's gone to the VAR. He's had a look at the screen. He's done that. And he's done the no-look red card.
Yeah, he loves that.
He does love a bit of the old way. He's looking at one and he gives you the other.
Peter Kelly saying that he's won more than the Scouts. He's won 2 Premier Leagues. See? There you go.
See, I've done him a disservice there.
Exactly.
Apologies, I thought he won one way. He's won 2 and that's more than Scouts. Regardless of that, he's had a very successful football career. Do you know what I mean? And it's a bit harsh the way he's lambasted on all fronts and just needlessly by, Twitter itself, I think it was. 2 of those players that were mentioned that I'll speak about briefly. One was Dan James and the other was Brandon Williams. Potential loanees could be going out. Do you agree with that idea? You happy about it? Do you want it? Hey?
Yeah? You got to show you want it.
Show you want it.
I don't mind it. I'm a little bit surprised, first of all, that Brandon Williams doesn't really get a game for United anymore. Because I think he was good last season. In most of his games for United, he was good. I think he had a couple of games where he wasn't great. The Sheffield United game was one. The semi-final against Chelsea was another. A couple of games before the end of the season, it wasn't, brilliant for United. But I don't think he was bad enough where you go, get him out the next season. He's a young lad who's, in theory, improving.
Do you think that this is more a case of he's played a lot of football last season, he's not playing much this season, let's not let him stagnate? Because he's got used to playing week in, week out. Let's keep that going at a level better than the 23s. No disrespect, but the under 23s has its issues there, where it's not always the intensity that you want. So get him on a low move. And let's face facts, Brandon Williams could get a low move to a Premier League team.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's not going to go down to League One or even the Championship.
Yeah.
He could go to a decent Premier League team as well. He's a very good player.
They're talking about Newcastle and Southampton and other players of that sort of level that seem to be interested in him. I think that would suit him quite well.
Newcastle and Southampton are 2 of my favourite teams right now.
Are they?
Newcastle, Southampton, and West Brom are my 3 favourite non-United teams.
Favourite Man United teams. I think it's a good move for him. My only concern slightly is, with the exception of Jesse Lingard, how many players can you actually think of that have gone on loan from United, come back and made their way into the first team? Dean Henderson is trying to make that transition now, but a goalkeeper is a totally different thing to any other position. It doesn't.
Recently, we're talking about it. I don't know with David Beckham or Danny Welbeck or whatever.
Let's try the last 20 years. And even Danny Welbeck was never an assured first-team player for Manchester United. You can pull that face all you want, Jay. You know as well as I do.
Right. You've slagged off Pepsi Max Cherry.
I'm not slagged it off.
Well, you've said that other Cokes are available, which is like a form of slagging off. Now you're throwing shade over the great Danny Welbeck. I'm not having it. No, I get where you're coming from. But I can sort of understand Williams. I think Dan James has got a part to play this season.
Yeah, I don't see... Yeah, moving on to Dan James, I don't really see why we would get rid of him. He is one of 2 players that plays on the right wing for us. We've got Mason Greenwood,
he's played there recently in the Premier League,
and that's it.
It's not like it's not like a Gallo where he's not played at all.
No,
he's like he scored the other week against Leeds.
He played well against Leeds. I don't know. He starts every sort of 4 or 5 games for United. I don't quite get why we get rid of him again, unless we see. And it's the same with Brandon Williams. And I said this last week. If we see, we're getting rid of Brandon Williams because Kieran Trippier, or maybe not him after his current, problems he's going through, Max Aarons, someone is coming in to replace him. I think the case must be the same for Dan James, who we've been, assuming that makes me think, should I say, that Ole sees Diallo as available and able to take up the number of appearances, the role that Dan James has currently in the squad, where you can take him out, switch him for Diallo, someone who's got a higher ceiling perhaps, someone who is, thought to be a potentially better player than him. But otherwise, why would we get rid of Dan James? He plays.
It doesn't make any sense. Dave Salter in the comments has said, a bit annoyed Williams could be off on loan. He hasn't been bad and could be a backup right back for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, which is just sort of you alluding to. Yeah. Signing a right back should be pretty important this window. Let's not forget as well, against Leipzig away, I thought Brandon Williams was our best player. He came on and was absolutely immense, getting into their area, causing havoc down that left-hand side and did a very good job. But if he's not getting games, that could be the issue. We'll move on from transfers to something less positive. Are we going to talk about Edinson Cavani?
Yeah.
Basically, if you don't know, I'll explain. Edinson Cavani, after he scored the winner against Southampton, he got an Instagram post off his mate, the old El Matador post, I think it was, and he said, muchas gracias, Negrito, which has racial connotations but isn't racist. It's a form of affection towards his mate, but it can be viewed as being racial. The FA stepped in. They have a sort of very strict, some would argue, slightly narrow-minded or slightly narrow, I should say, policy where there's not much room for manoeuvre. Yeah. So he's got a 3-match ban, which is why he's not been playing, I think, But it was Villa the first game where he got his ban, so he's banned the first City.
He misses the City game
and the Watford game. So yeah, he's getting a 3-match ban, which is the new minimum. Because people say, well, what happened to Bernardo Silva? He only got 1 match. They increased it to 3-match minimum. Now, a lot of people in Uruguay aren't happy about this. The Uruguayan Footballers Association, whatever they're called, did a statement saying that in itself, that ban is a form of racism because you're punishing someone for what is your own cultural naivety almost. You don't understand their culture, sorry. So you're punishing them. Now, CONMEBOL, thank you, got me out of jail there, have also issued a statement saying, CONMEBOL expressed their solidarity with player Edinson Cavani, who was sanctioned by the English FA. The punishment handed to the said Uruguay international clearly does not take into account cultural characteristics and certain terms used in everyday life in Uruguay. Now, just a couple of things I want to pick up on there before you jump in, Joe. One, I don't think there was any thought or intent from Edinson Cavani whatsoever to be racially insensitive, or this was a racial thing, or this was something about. I don't think the person in question was black. Not that that means it's the be all and end all. But I don't think it was anything to do with race. I think this was just a term that he uses. So yeah, you can see the rest of that quote. It says the judgment of these types of declarations should always be carried out, taking into account the context in which they were used. Again, it's what I'm talking about, and above all, the cultural peculiarities of each player in each country. So they're saying, this wasn't a thing. Now, some people have gone, Luis Suarez quote tweeted it. He didn't just put hands up thing, because Luis Suarez obviously got a ban and fine for what he said to Patrice Evra. He said a different word. He said it during an argument. He said it several times. He pinched Patrice Evra's skin. He referred to the fact that Patrice Evra was black. It wasn't a term of endearment. He said that as an insult, as a reason to wind Patrice Evra up. That's why it's completely different. Now, with this, I think that, okay, Edinson Cavani's got his ban. That isn't going to change. But moving forward, maybe we can look at this and each case could be taken on its merit. Because I think if you do take each case on its merit, you'd see there's a world of difference between what Edinson Cavani's done and what Luis Suarez has done. And I think they're not even similar. And I think some people are trying to say, well, it's not. Where do you stand on this, Joe? Do you sort of see where CONMEBOL are coming from? Because I think one final point is, I think that Cavani and the club themselves have actually handled this pretty well. Yeah. There's been none of this, let's all wear T-shirts with Cavani's face on during the warm-up, or let's issue a statement saying his great-granddad was black. There's been okay, he didn't mean it. We understand why this fine and this punishment's gone on. We want to fight against racism, let's move on. Yeah. But CONMEBOL are saying, well, actually, we're not having this.
Yeah. I think, like I said, the club and Cavani have handled it in the best way they can, where they try to iterate and reiterate that it's not a derogatory term. It's not even particularly a racially motivated term. It is a culturally different thing completely. But we accept the punishment because we can see how in different cultures, it could be taken as something that shouldn't really be said, and it's a reference to someone's skin colour that doesn't necessarily, that isn't really used in England and in Britain. It is interesting the way that CONMEBOL and before them, I think it's the Uruguayan FA or the Uruguayan Players Association, one of the two, have come out and so strongly sort of criticised what the FA have done. And I would like to know sort of what steps the FA took and how within their process of determining the guilt of, I say guilt, the punishment that should be handed out for this sort of thing, how much they do look into the cultural use of that and what it means in other languages and really what you are punishing this player for, because it does seem as though people of Uruguay or the Uruguayan officials seem to be deeply offended by this, because really what essentially has happened is they've said that thing you say is bad, when really, you're essentially insulting the culture of Uruguay or the terminologies that are used in Uruguay. It's such a difficult bit of ground to cover, really, because you do kind of have to lean towards and understand how things can be interpreted in the country you're playing in and the country you're living in. But at the same time, I would like to know how exactly the FA determine how offensive something is, and when they say, no, that's okay in Uruguay, or we don't care that it's okay in Uruguay, it could still be seen as offensive in England, and that takes all precedent over the actual meaning of it. I would like more details, really, but again, I'm glad the club and Cavani have handled it the way they do, where there's no point fighting back. There's no point trying to make it look as though, we can't possibly see how this has been taken the way it has, because, when you read that, you do go, what's going on there?
Yeah.
And obviously, if people are saying that in playgrounds across Great Britain because you've seen Cavani say it, that's not really the example that needs to be set for the country that he's playing in. But it's just a tricky situation, and I like you said, I'm glad that United and Cavani have handled it the way they have.
Yeah, they've handled it in the right way, and maybe there's some lessons that can be learned. And John Shin's in the chat as well, which is good to see. John, big friend of the show. Yep. We'll be seeing a bit more of him on the channel as well, because everyone loves John Shin, including me and Joe. Before we move on to our next subject, I mean, in terms of Cavani, there's a bit of debate. Sorry, I will just get into it. A lot of people backing Cavani and saying, the FA have acted wrongly, and the FA are a disgrace, and all the rest of it. A couple of people say, I saw one comment that said he should know better, he should know what he's doing. I mean, you can go on and on about this debate. I think no matter what, he's going to know that he won't be doing that again whilst he's in England, because of what's happened. The club have handled it in the way they've had. Maybe there's lessons to be learned there, and hopefully the FA can learn some, because the FA, regardless of this instant whatever, they're always getting things arse about it, aren't they?
Yeah.
You've got something you want to plug, haven't you?
Yes.
Go on then.
The 12 Days of Paddock is a competition that we've been running. It's not a competition, really. It's a giveaway we've been doing for our members. And we've been giving away one gift every single day for the 12 days of Christmas. Now, the last gift to be given away, we've had 11 days, Jay. The final gift that's going to be given away to one of our members tomorrow is a Sony PlayStation 5. Now, all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning it is become a member, or if you're already a member, stay as a member, at least until tomorrow, because that's when we're giving away the Sony PlayStation 5, and any one of you can win it. Also, the members get loads of extra stuff. You get weekly videos, you get behind-the-scenes podcasts. We're going to be doing a lot of extra transfer content over January as well for our members. So there's loads of good stuff for you. And if you want to become a member, click the join button underneath and you'll be entered to win the PlayStation 5. And we're announcing the winner on the review for Manchester City versus Manchester United tomorrow night. So you've got until then to join. And after that, you ain't getting no PlayStations. Although, I say that, we're going to be doing more giveaways as things go on. So the members are going to make sure that you keep getting loads of extra stuff and loads of giveaways throughout the year as well.
John Shin there saying to get involved, it's hella hard.
Someone says, where can I become a member? Well, hopefully, if Callum can put a link to the join in the chat, and then you can put that as the pinned comment in
Callum
the
looks like
chat
someone's just asked him to
So Callum, what you do is
the wheel there.
You get the link to join, send that as a message, click here to join, become a member, and then you can put that as the pinned comment. I'm sure you'll find it.
If not, it's next to subscribe on the description bit.
Steve Moreno says, only for UK members. It's not only for UK members. Anywhere in the world, we're getting you a PlayStation 5, so it's not just for UK members at all. So anywhere, Steve, and it's randomly drawn. So if you win, you win.
Don't let the referendum result confuse you. We're about inclusivity. We're not, Brexit doesn't always mean Brexit in this gaff. Mr. Wild Times says, been watching you for years, Jane. You've really come into your own over the last year or so.
Good
nice work, bro. Thanks, Mr. Wild Times. Because I've been working alongside Joe Smith.
Thank you. Peter Kelly says, don't want to get carried away, but the quadruple is on. It is. The quadruple is on.
Is it really?
Yeah, massively. Massively so, yeah.
Is there not a chance that it might just be the domestic treble?
Well, you're not counting the Europa League in that?
I think we've been there, done that. Hey, do you know what I mean?
Forget about it.
Don't even care about that.
Should we move on, Jay?
Let's move on. I think we've all learned something there, Joe. Especially me and you.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about COVID?
Might as well.
Go on then.
So England has been put. I say England. It's slightly different in Scotland because I think they were already in a lockdown before us. But England has, and most of Great Britain has been put in.
Scotland's just like England in a week.
Yeah, exactly. They're us, but they've got like 1 week better planning.
Yeah, that's it. You want to know what's going to be happening in England next week? Just watch Scotland.
Yeah, exactly. We've been putting a national lockdown. Whilst football is going on, we'll still be here because, it's very difficult to do this anywhere other than in the studio, so we will still be here. But in terms of the Premier League, currently it's going on, but there has been a record number of positive tests, I think 40 in the last round of testing. Now, first of all, Jay, your thoughts on football continuing, and secondly, your thoughts on the growing number of cases in the Premier League.
I think there has to be a breaking point. I think there has to be a point where you go, this is untenable. I think potentially that should be when United are top of the league with a clear points difference between us and second. Then
Use the word differential, please.
Differential. Then you say, right, let's pause it and award the title to Manchester United. But seriously, if it gets untenable, if it gets where games are having to be postponed left, right and centre, then you might have to just put it on hold. You might have to do what you did last time. Let's not forget last time, it was more or less your mate Mikel Arteta that changed everything, wasn't it? Because I remember United were due to play Spurs on the Sunday, was it, I think? Games were all going ahead. Up until, I think it was a Friday night, everyone was like, or Saturday night, even though it was, the game might have been on a Saturday, and up until Friday night, it was like, yeah, game's going ahead. Arteta got it, and then it seemed to change, and everyone was like, hang on a minute. I think there was another player, forgive me, his name escapes me. And it was like, right, that's it, we can't, so this is going to get a bit silly. And then football and everything else ended up getting paused. So at the moment, I don't think we're there, but it could happen. It could really happen. And I think if you get to the point where you can't get the games going, there's not enough players, you're postponing, and it's affecting other competition, it's just not working, then you might have to put it on pause and do like we did last time, have a bit of a, well, it wasn't a bit of a break, wasn't it? It was a hefty break, 4 months break. So I hope that doesn't come to that, but you want football. I mean, it's already bad enough without fans in the ground, but you want us to have a level of football that is like football. Yeah. It's close to the real article, not such a watered-down version where you've got teams fielding children because they haven't got any players, and bad enough you haven't got fans in there. You've got games postponed, and you're having to cram them all together, that it just becomes farcical. So I think we need to look at that. I don't think we're there yet, but if we get to that point where it is untenable, then put a break on. I mean, some of the things we've done during this pandemic, international friendlies for one of them.
Yeah.
Why? What?
Yeah. Certain things you just have to question, don't you? And I agree with you. At some point, there's going to be a breaking point. For me, the problem with it is, and obviously anyone who gets ill and anyone who has long-lasting effects, I'm not saying every single football player that has got COVID has got it through reckless means, but we know for a fact that there are plenty of footballers, and I'm not going to name them because, let's not get into libel here, but we know there are plenty of footballers that have got COVID because they've been to parties. And we know there's plenty of footballers that have been at these huge parties who maybe didn't get COVID but got lucky, that have been breaking the rules from the start. We've seen players banned, having the licences taken off them for driving drunk on the way home from parties during lockdown, during COVID. And there's part of me that thinks, we talk a lot about footballers and the money they get paid, and the fact that, 200 grand a week, he should be able to run more than that. 200 grand a week, why is he getting injured all the time? And I always stand up and I stick up for footballers in the sense of, you can't just run through an injury just because you get paid a lot of money. But what you can do when you're in a massively privileged position where you're still allowed to go to work, you're still allowed to go to training and chat with your mates and play with your mates and push your mates around and touch people. And I know that's a strange thing to say, and it's not like, come here, let me touch you. But the fact that a lot of us haven't hugged their family in 12 months or nearly 12 months, and footballers are going to parties left, right and centre and then complaining and getting their games postponed when a few of them get COVID, this is the sort of thing where you can say, you get paid a hell of a lot of money to not fuck about now, and they still can't not fuck about. And part of me just thinks, we've said that we're going to come back, we've said that we're going to play, we're going to play then. You get tested all the time. You get literally the best possible service you could possibly have as a human being. Probably as good as anyone in the world is getting right now. This is a problem for everyone in the world. And the fact that even with all the greatest setup in the world to allow these people to do their job, which, let's be honest, as much as we enjoy watching it, being a footballer is one of the most luxury jobs you can have. The fact that they still can't stay at home, they still can't stop going to parties and flouting the rules all the time, really is where you can say you get paid too much money to do this and you're taking the piss. And for me, if people are going to be doing that, you just think, I've got less sympathy for them than anyone, really, because they've got the best setup in the world to not have to do this, and they still do.
Well said, Joe. Fantastic. I couldn't agree more with all of what you just said, and
Sorry, it's just wound me up that a bit. Some of that, with Pep complaining about a few of his players getting injured. We've seen videos of him at parties multiple times. We've seen text messages trying to order prostitutes to their houses, and you're like, oh, did you get COVID? Because you've been breaking the rules for 10 months. Ridiculous.
And we're not going to name any players, and only some of those players play for Manchester City. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So we've had a few members while Joe was doing that epic rant, because it wasn't an epic rant. No, don't apologise for it, because I agree with everything you just said. And, we've all been, this country by a lot, gets a lot of stick. We've all been sticking to these rules by and large and doing our bit. And it does frustrate you when you see people who, I get you can get a bit, you're young and you want to go out and do things, but we are meant to be in this together, so get great.
Yes.
Few members, welcome to the academy. There's, I think, is it Fred Dew, Sean Patrick McDade as well. Appreciate your support. Philip Wygate says, just claps in unison with Jay there. Well said, Joe. Agree with you. Joe Chimlevel says, what a statement, Joe. Robert O'Dwyer, welcome to the academy as well. Someone else said, I'm going to read that out, because we were having this discussion off camera before. Someone said Joe will go on to bigger things like Sam Homewood. Sam Homewood didn't go on to bigger things. He just went on to different things. Different. Not better. Just different.
Not bigger and better. Different and the same goodness.
Yeah, exactly. But as long as Joe is here, we're going to keep him having his rants and doing his stuff. Right, let's move on from COVID. Hopefully, forever. And let's talk about something a bit more cheery that we've not spoken about for ages.
Yes.
Let's talk about Jadon Sancho and Kingsley Coman.
Everyone tick your bingo cards, lads. Jadon Sancho's been mentioned.
I know, and it's like,
it's a shame, isn't it? And I bet he must see it. Like when he was Googling his own name a few months ago, Jadon Sancho. It was like, can't wait to sign him. Just spend the money. He's world class. He's the best right winger in the world. Just spend 120 million. Now, if you Google him, it'll say trending with Jack Grealish, and everything will say, fuck Jadon Sancho. It's Grealish now. Jadon Sancho, what a waste of money. Oh, he needs. Oh, look at him. He looks like a bee with that top on. Like all like weird anti-Sancho stuff now, and we've literally got to the point where we're like, oh, do we have to talk about him? Well, I suppose we do a little bit still, because United are still linked with him, and apparently the reason he's played so poorly this season is because of us. It's our fault, Jay.
I stand to differ. I beg to differ. Sorry, I don't think it is because of us. I think it's because of you personally. You're to blame. You're the one that started these Jadon Sancho rumours. You started tweeting about it, doing the things on the Twitter. Tweeted him for that, like you did. Next thing you know, Romano and Falk and everyone else thinks, oh, maybe Joe's right. Let's start writing articles and spreading these rumours. Now the poor lad's not been playing that well. You've ruined his life. He did score at the weekend. He has still, been productive, just not as productive as recent as he was the previous season. I also want to give a quick shout as well to all the members that joined Luke Crow's latest one there. Also, I like this. I'm going to say this quickly before we crack on with Jadon Sancho. Horizon Emery says, is Joe a fax machine? Because he's spitting facts.
Wow,
that sounds like a 1980s chat-up line.
That sounds like a rap line, actually, where you sort of twist in the
what, if you're a rapper from the 80s?
Yeah, but twist.
Are you a carrier pigeon?
Yeah, Rapper's Delight and all that.
A fax machine.
Yeah.
Most teenagers are like, what's the fax machine?
No, but facts, that kind of twisting of the phonetic.
I get it.
No, you don't get it. I'll tell you what it is, Jay. So what he's doing there is he's playing on the fact.
Have you ever used the fax machine? Have you ever used the fax machine? Have you ever used the fax machine?
And I can see you're not getting it, and you're getting angry because.
Have you ever?
I'm sorry.
Only one of us on this table has used the fax machine.
Yeah, I have.
When?
I rested a book on one in a library once.
All right.
Get over yourself, mate.
I used to send faxes all the time.
Did you? Who to? Lovers in foreign lands.
My dealer.
Did you? A picture. One like this.
Yeah.
Dealer.
I didn't really. I just paged him back in the day.
Drug dealers don't have fax machines.
Listen, some of mine were big time. Anyway, let's move off from fax machines and get David De Gea. There's a fax machine story. Remember that one? That was good, wasn't it?
Good lad.
Yeah. So actually, you're right. It could work. Borussia Dortmund. Yeah, they're blaming. Do you know what? Borussia Dortmund just don't like Man United, do they?
No.
Do they? They really don't.
No, they're sick of us. They only got Bellingham because we wanted him. You know that, don't you? And I know he's played for him a bit this season, but that is becoming increasingly obvious to me. The fact that I've barely seen Jude Bellingham in the last 5 months. They only signed him to piss us off.
We actually pulled out all the stops to get him, like, Fergie got involved. It was like, we showed him around Carrington, and, like, he meets Sir Alex. It's like, yeah, come on. Let's, like, you know, Jude, we're going to be a big part of the team, you know, yeah. Oh, yeah, and then Dortmund, like, United. What do you want? We'll double your offer. Come and play for us, and you can start and be captain.
Do you remember how we signed Fred and Sancho to spite City? Dortmund signed Bellingham to sign us. To spite us, sorry. Definitely.
I love doing things for spite. I think that's a great idea. Even though, you know, you could argue the Sanchez one was a bit of a disaster.
It's not just Dortmund and Sancho, though, who have been talking about Manchester United's interest in their players.
Go on.
Kingsley Coman's another one. He's spoken, or people have spoken to him, and he's sort of said, you know what? I like that United came after me in the summer. They're a good team, and it shows the status. There you go. It's good to know that good teams are interested in me. It gives me additional confidence. I'm just thinking of buying.
Because it was United and City that were linked. I just want to get into this slightly because what happened was it was actually Andy Mitten, right? Who's has been on this channel and the bloke that gave me my first ever job selling United B stand outside Old Trafford when I was a kid. He's a journalist and a very good one, very well respected one, and he ran a story, I think, right at the beginning of the summer, it might have been before that, saying that he felt that United were in for Coman, that Coman was on United's radar. And then what happened was United sort of, the Sancho rumours gathered momentum, and it became obvious United had sort of switched our attention to Sancho as our main priority. And Andy Mitten was getting loads of stick on Twitter saying, oh, you're talking rubbish, we're not in for Coman, not in for him at all, it was all about Sancho. And the fact is, he was right, we were. And there was an approach, and he was spot on. And I think he was a bit like surprised at the level of
backlash.
Yeah, the anger he got on Twitter because people going, "What are you talking about? You think you're ITK? You're talking rubbish." And he was right. Coman's come out of it. Said, "We'd love to have seen Kingsley Coman at United." Obviously, that looks like it's not happening now. But you can understand like why United looked at him very talented, and also it wasn't just about, oh, we're only looking at Jadon Sancho. We're obviously looking at others. The issue we had, I think, was we just didn't have the money that these transfers required, or we couldn't convince them. So we ended up sort of moving on and not getting either of them, and now it's sort of coming around again on it with Jadon Sancho. And I think we're going to go again in the summer with that one because it's been spoken about. Romano's sort of mentioned it. Christian Falk as well, who's tweeted about that with Kingsley Coman, who is Mr. Bayern Munich. He knows everything that goes on at that club. When we spoke to him, when we had him on the Say One, he was at the training ground on his phone when he was chatting to us. Like, and I remember asking him, "What Thiago Alcantara?" And he was like, "Thiago Alcantara, let me see if I can see him."
Bit of a humble brag that one.
Loved it though. He's like, there he is. And Romano knows his stuff, and we'll be talking to Romano very soon as well. We're getting him back on this channel to pick his brains to see what's going on in January. Is it out happening or what, Fab? Let us know if any here we goes going. So guys, do like the video, get involved in the comments. But Coleman's explained that one. Sancho, it's not our fault, Dortmund, right? Maybe if you got him a decent strike partner instead of putting him up front with that duck egg Erling Haaland, who's a load of rubbish.
Can't finish his dinner, that lad.
Exactly. Then he'd be able to perform to a level that you're happy with. Moving on from Germany to a German, Jurgen Klopp.
Oh, Jurgen Klopp. Yeah.
He's not been too happy, has he?
He's not been very happy, and it's quite great and funny and fun, isn't it? Yeah, we put him on the list with Jose, who can't seem to get the head around the fact that United gets a few penalties and that.
Like, this is the thing, right?
Just go on.
In case you don't know, Jose Mourinho, who did Spurs beat the other day? Tottenham, yeah. Who did they play the other day?
Yeah, they played and won.
Right.
against the other teams. I watched it. I can't remember.
Right, it doesn't matter.
Do you know what I do? I watch them until the team I want to lose starts winning. Then I turn it off. I watched the Liverpool game. I watched the shit out of that. I watched the Tottenham Wolves game where they drew. I watched the shit out of that as well. But when they
beat Leeds, didn't they?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So Jose was speaking after the game. You know, you've just beaten Leeds. You think he'd be very happy. And yet he was mentioning penalties, and he was mentioning the fact that some players scored 10 goals a season on penalties. And I'm not speaking about Harry Kane, by the way. Obviously referring to Bruno Fernandes, because Bruno Fernandes, I think, has scored 10 penalties or something around that number. Needlessly sort of referring to him. And then you've got our mate Jurgen Klopp, who we all love dearly on this channel. Liverpool, who are rubbish at the minute.
Yeah, you've just been beaten by Southampton.
Been beaten by Southampton, which, by the way, is pathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you know what I mean? He should have gone out and got Anderson Cavani, then that wouldn't have happened. So he's speaking after the game. So what's he going to talk about? Is he going to talk about the fact that Danny Ings, the ex-Liverpool player, scored against him? Is he going to talk about the fact that his team have only scored, 2 goals in 258 minutes of football, or whatever it is, or 1 goal in 258 minutes of football? Is he going to talk about the fact that Roberto Firmino couldn't finish his dinner? Is he going to talk about the fact that he's got Jordan Henderson playing at centre-back because he's just not been able to manage his squad properly? Is he going to talk about any other things? No. He's going to talk about Manchester United, and he's going to make things up about Manchester United. And he's going to say, I've just heard that Manchester United have had more penalties under Ole than Liverpool have had since I've been here. Well, so what if that is true? I don't think it is.
It's not.
It's not true. And even if it was, who cares?
Yeah.
The only thing, I think, to solve this sort of penalty issue is, and this is a crazy idea I've got, right?
Go on.
Bear with me here, hear me out. What I think they should do...
I've heard some of your ideas before, by the way. Fill a cat with mustard and squeeze it over a hot dog. That was one of them. Wasn't it? And you called it Meowstead.
Meowstead.
And it did not take off, let alone doggy ketchup.
That's still on the list.
Oh, sorry.
Doggy ketchup and Meowstead are still on the list. But even more than that, even more than Meowstead, it's a miracle I don't take drugs anymore, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
You don't need to.
I don't need to, and if I did, I wouldn't be able to survive an evening with Joe Smith. Yeah, I almost forgot what I was saying there, but it's my suggestion.
Idea, Jay.
To sort out these discrepancies and these controversies and these issues around penalties, what we should have, right, is some sort of video assistant who watches them over again, maybe in slow motion, analyses them once, twice, maybe 3 times, and then advises the referee, assists the referee perhaps, or you can even get the referee himself to maybe look at them now and again on a video, on a replay. Bring that in.
Interesting.
We can call it something like video actual refereeing.
Because the video's actually doing the refereeing at this point.
Like something like that.
Yeah, never take off, Jay.
No?
You'll never catch on that.
No? All right then. Well, it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's the thing. If we did have this, video actual, I'll call it VAR for sure. If we did have this VAR type technology, I'm sure all of these penalties could be checked, and pretty much, by and large, we could say that yes, these did deserve to be given. And of course, if we did have VAR fully functioning, we would probably have seen, a few of the penalties and handballs that Liverpool have given away in the last couple of years that weren't given as penalties. But, luckily we don't have that system available to us. And despite, using a system like that, those penalties would still not be given against Liverpool. So we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I'm sure Klopp would be very happy if he did. You'd actually look back. It did the rounds a few months ago on Reddit because everyone has to have a problem with one team getting more penalties than the other. Because, as we all know with football, every team is exactly the fucking same. And they all score the same amount of goals. They all concede the same. They all end the season on the same amount of points. That's why everyone in the league ends the season on 55 points every year, Jay, doesn't it? You know what football's like. Everything's the same. No one team can have an advantage in certain areas over others. Like, there was a thing where it was when we had 31 penalties or 29 penalties, there was a montage of every single one that was awarded for United under Solskjaer. And all but about 2, one where Dan James got stepped across and he sort of went down a bit easily, and one other one where it looked like a bit of a dive that was given. All but 2 were clear penalties. And it's like, what are you arguing here? There couldn't be more referees looking at this, and they still get given. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, as we said before, and you'll see it all over Twitter, it is great that we've got them rattled, isn't it? Because before this, who cared that United were getting loads of penalties?
No one.
No one. Because, have your penalties, finish 6, see you later.
Yeah.
Whereas now,
go on.
we're getting these penalties, we're winning games with them, we're at the top of the league or with a chance to go top. I think Klopp's are also probably annoyed by the fact that City can now go above them if they win their games in hand.
Ouch, that one's got to hurt.
Exactly, and we've not seen Liverpool close out a title in a race that they were challenged in. They did very well at 2018-19, where I think they got, 97 points and still didn't win the league. But they were chasing City every single week for the end of the season. And City, miraculously, I think they won 13 games in a row to finish out the season, something ridiculous. What we haven't seen from Liverpool, because last season they just blew the league away, we haven't seen them go, you know what, you're going to drop some points this season, you're going to have to respond to that, and you're going to have to stay ahead of a very tightly chasing pack. And we're seeing them have to try to do it now. And, a few injuries here and there. and they're sort of scrambling and they're struggling. And that's not to say they're out of this title race by any means. Absolutely not. They could still win it. But again, it's not. It doesn't take too much for Klopp to start throwing his toys out the pram, does it?
It doesn't. Just a few comments we're going to get into. Santonot says 17th January Anfield last minute penalty. Bruno penalty. Here we go. Someone else, Crackerjack says I hope we win at Anfield with a Fernandes penalty. Dave Salter says I hope Joe never leaves Paddock. He's just brilliant.
Just so you know, there's no plans for me to leave Stretford Paddock in any way. By the way, it's him who's
awkward, embarrassing.
Who have you been speaking to? You've been talking to the higher-ups, haven't you?
There are no higher-ups than me, Joe. We're all equal.
I saw that email from Joel Glazer in your inbox. Is he not? I thought, don't know. Sorry, I must have misread that. That's a joke, by the way. He
just told me to stop shouting at him out outside his house. Stop throwing them fireworks. I'm only joking. Don't know where he lives. Someone there says in the super chat, was that Horizon Mri?
It was.
It's gone. It says, what annoys me is that Lampard did something similar before playing us in the FA Cup final, and it got in the ref's head. Hope this doesn't do the same. You're right, because Rudiger, for me, was a straight red on Mason Greenwood. I was at that. And I think it did get in the ref's head. And I think there is a bit of that.
Semi-final, by the way.
Sorry, the semi-final, sorry. Against Chelsea, it was a terrible challenge against young Mason Greenwood. And I think you're right. I think it does try and do those sort of mind games. Oh, he's collecting himself.
I think it did work because
semi-finals,
it's not like, as we know, all these things in football, in life generally, where you think this shouldn't affect these people, where you think, Phil Jones or someone like that, the criticism he gets in the newspaper and on social media, he probably don't even see any of that, does he? No. I'm sure he's got the thickest of skins, but then you see him come out and say stuff like that people wouldn't arrive at my testimonial. We've seen Jesse Lingard say the criticism on social media has been, difficult to handle. The same thing when managers put pressure on referees and say, you're giving them too many penalties. Jurgen Klopp, we can all take the piss and say, oh, he's bottled it, he's rattled all this stuff, and we can take the piss out of him, which is very fun to do. And don't get me wrong, we will do that, and we have done that. What he's actually doing here, and it's a really good point that Horizon brought up there, is he's trying to get it so that maybe 1 or 2 times for the rest of the season, a referee goes, they've had a lot of penalties, haven't they?
Do you know who got
that video of Pogba going like that to Luke Shaw, maybe saying dive, maybe, who knows, maybe, whatever he's saying. If that, for the rest of the season, costs us a draw here, a draw there, one thing here and there, where you think that should have been a penalty, that's his job done then. And why not put that pressure on if you're Klopp? Because like you said with Lampard, we see it happen.
Howard Webb, it got into his head. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Because I remember, I think, was it against Ashley Young, went under Moyes? He got wiped out, and Howard Webb just didn't give a penalty. It was a clear penalty. There was one against the Scousers as well, where I can't remember who it was. It was someone like Martin Kelly or someone was on a yellow, pulled back Shinji Kagawa.
Yeah.
It was away. It's a yellow card, second yellow all day long, and he didn't give it. It was like he'd got this thing of like, oh, I need to show I'm not so pro-United, and it was ridiculous. Sujavit Chakrabarti, forgive me if I've just butchered your name, mate, says, did we complain when Liverpool got 33 more points?
No, we didn't.
I did, because I thought it was VAR assisted. I think you take VAR out of the equation, and we'd have been equal, if not on top of them. So I complained.
VAR
cheated.
Gave them probably 50 points last season. They would have been in a relegation battle.
Exactly.
VAR.
If anything, that title doesn't count, in my opinion.
They might as well melt that down.
Yeah, pathetic.
Yeah, pathetic.
Callum, who everyone keeps mistaking for Cam, has just put a note up saying, David Alaba, if we still want him. Yeah, we do.
You still want him.
We still want him. Go on, Joe, talk to me about him.
David Alaba then is obviously a Bayern Munich versatile defender, Jay.
I love a bit of
versatile defender, Jay. Can play left back in his career, has played central midfield in his career, has played centre back in his career. He ain't signing a new deal at Bayern Munich. His contract runs out at the end of the season, for anyone who doesn't know, which I'm sure is maybe even some people in front of camera here tonight. You're giving me the face of, contract runs out, you say? No, I'm sure you do that.
David Alaba, contract, what? Bayern Munich?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I did know that.
I know you did.
I've known it for a whole minute and a half.
His contract's run out at the end of the season. There seems like Bayern are coming to terms with the fact that he ain't signing a new one. United have been linked with him on and off for probably 12 months or so now. Someone who I'd be very keen on at United. Especially before we signed Tellez, I think he would literally have been the perfect signing. When Shaw's fit, or if Shaw's on a good run of form, you can play Alaba at centre-back. When you maybe need a bit of cover on the left-hand side, or you want to play 3 at the back, you can play him as a left-back or even a defensive midfielder. It does look as though, from what we've seen online, as independent there, reference it essentially, Real Madrid do seem to be leading the way for his transfer, pretty unanimously leading the way, I would say. But it doesn't mean there isn't a chance. And, let us know in the comments whether you think Alaba would be a good signing for United. He's a great player. I think he's only 27 or 28. He seems to have been around for
one of them.
Decades.
Is he even like 9 titles on the trot, 8 titles on the trot, and a couple of Champions League? How, on the scale of like this being the chance, how big do you think the chance is?
You keep going up and down and I'll tell you when to start.
That's a massive chance.
Yeah. Right. Stop.
There.
Yeah.
That.
It's not great.
It's not great.
It's not looking great. There's a chance, but it's...
That's like... What's Ronaldo coming back to Old Trafford?
You carried on. Stop. Yeah,
that's Ronaldo. So there's a better chance of Ronaldo coming to Old Trafford.
Yeah.
So that tells you where you're at with this David Alaba. And let's not forget, he's never wrong. Right?
I don't remember the last time I was wrong.
Exactly. Me neither.
And that can cause real difficult problems in my personal life.
We don't need to talk about that.
Absolutely not.
We'll discuss this off camera.
Ross
Murphy in the super chat. Yes. Ross Murphy, big supporter of the channel. Love Ross. He says, win tomorrow, play a B-side against Watford, bin off the Europa League, and then focus on the league. That is what United should do. Why not? Someone else in the super chat as well. Rory Wolf says, hearing Klopp and Jose lose it is enough to make us never want us to score a fair goal again. Bless him. And there was another one. Was there another one there that I missed? Was there? If we can find it.
That was all of them. Oh, I'd take controversial goals all the way to the 21st title, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Offsides, balls that didn't cross the line. Do you know when the Aston Villa scored against Sheffield United?
Oh, McCullough's in the chat as well.
Sheffield United scored against Aston Villa and it wasn't given.
Yeah.
I reckon give us one of them a game and a dodgy penalty.
I don't know if my nerves can take it, but I'll have it.
I'll have it.
If you offered it me now, I'd be like, yes. I don't care how it happens. I just want us to win the league. And, that's all. That's what matters, isn't it? It's not about just entertaining cavalier football that we've been playing. It's about winning trophies, and I think we can do that under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because despite all the stick he's been getting, he's doing a pretty decent job of it, innit? Because we're stood here talking about other managers fuming about United. I'm dancing around my living room because Southampton have just won. What's all that about?
It's great, isn't it?
It's madness.
And before we would be annoyed that Southampton had won because we were challenging them for a Europa League spot. So now it's nice that we want Southampton to win. It's great because before the teams we wanted to win as United fans because we were fighting them for spots. We wanted Everton not to win. We wanted Southampton not to win. We wanted Leicester not to win.
I know.
Now I'm happy for Arsenal to win matches, Southampton to win matches. All these teams, we've left these behind. Wolves.
Do you know why that is?
See you later.
Go on, what is it?
What?
Go on, what's the saying? The Pirates of the Caribbean thing you always say.
Oh, you better start believing in title races, Jay. You're in one. And that's it. We're in one now, Jay. And if Liverpool didn't think we were in one, we know from what Klopp said, he sees us as a threat. And it's been such a long time. And how beautiful it is to be sat here right now with you, Jay.
He's 2 steps away from getting his piece of paper out and talking about facts.
Yeah.
We are going to have to wrap it up there because Callum's giving us a curly finger because, he's got things to do, apparently. Yeah.
No, it's
Come
not.
on.
Yeah.
Get on with it. Before we go, Joe's going to tell you about something.
Yeah, we've got the 12 Days of Christmas giveaway. We talked about it a little bit before, and we've got 1 day left. The PlayStation 5 is being given away tomorrow, basically. We can't say it any more clearly. If you want to become a member, now is the time to do it. And for the rest of the year, we're going to be giving great giveaways away for Paddock members as well. It's a PlayStation 5 today, but going forward, we're going to be doing a hell of a lot more. We've also been doing a lot of members-only videos as well, and we're going to be doing a very special members-only transfer series coming out over January. So now is the time to become a member. Again, all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning that PlayStation 5, the final gift is upon us, Jay, is click the join button in the comments, become a member, and tomorrow, during the review for Manchester United against Manchester City, we're going to be giving away that Sony PlayStation 5 to one of our members worldwide. No matter where you are, click the join button. You get loads of extra stuff anyway, and you get in with a chance of winning a PlayStation 5. Big, big day, Jay.
Big, big day. I can see Adam McCullough in the comments saying, #sweaty1 is coming, which he's kind of trademarked almost. Well, he started it all, didn't he?
Well, he stole it from me, famously.
Did he nick it from you?
Yeah. And he'll agree. He'll be the first.
Will he
person
admit
to
that?
agree with
Yeah,
that,
I'm sure if Adam's in the comments, Macca's there. He'll agree with you. You can keep hitting like as well. I've seen people saying like, up to 641 likes there. We do appreciate that. And we will be back with the watch along tomorrow. Go on.
Good point there from Adam. All of the winners of all the prizes so far and tomorrow are also officially announced in the community section on YouTube. So if you're a member and you're thinking, hang on a sec, we're day 11 here, and I ain't seen who's won anything.
Yes.
Go to the community section on our YouTube channel, and you may well find that winning lottery ticket. I say winning lottery ticket. You might want a copy of FIFA or something.
Well, you don't know. You might have won something. Regardless of whether you win something or not, if you remember, you'll see some of the extra content we've put on there. We put on some extra stuff as well. Hi, Doug. And also, tomorrow we've got the watch-along. Yeah. What else have we got? The fan cams. We've got the post-match review. We've got the review with, is it me and yours truly? Tomorrow we'll have, I think Adam McCall will be back on. Andy Tate will be here. Stephen Howson will be here. So, you know, the band is all back together. The gang is all here. So make sure you check that out as well. If you're not doing so already, make sure you're hitting subscribe and giving us a like and checking out all the other great videos we've got on the channel. That's been Joe Smith. I've been Jay Motti. This has been Stretford Paddock Transfers Live, where, you know...
Oh, by the way, Jay.
Go on.
We're going to be here pretty much every single night of the week with Transfers Live during the transfer window. Anything that relates to Manchester United transfer news, we will be covering it, don't you worry about that. If United sign anyone, when United sign players, you'll be finding out about it here first.
Both ends, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're doing the mornings, we're doing lives in the morning, because the news is coming that thick and fast that by the time you've driven from Old Trafford and press send, so much changed. So we've been doing live videos in the morning, live news to give you all the updates in the morning, and then at night time as well. We'll keep you covered, man. Got it all. So if it happens, we'll let you know about it as well. So make sure you're checking out Stretford Paddock. As always, thanks for all the members. We've got loads of members there tonight who've joined, and we do appreciate that. Thanks as well, all the people that hit like, all the people who get involved in the comments. I've seen some great comments there, some good debates going on as well. We appreciate all the support we've had from you guys. Thanks for watching.